Hey, what's going on YouTube? So I'm going to show you what's going on in the country right now as far as stock prices going up, as far as gas prices going up, as far as inflation going up, because for some reason the railroads cannot get product delivered to certain customers. And some of the things that's happening is the railroads implemented a program called precision scheduled railroading. And this has been hindering the industry for a while now. So I'm just going to let you watch this video. Then I'm going to go in detail on what's actually going on, how the railroads can fix it this today, and the issues that the railroads are going to face in the future. So I'm just going to let you watch this video. And this is a clear indication of what's been going on with the railroads. So here it goes.
700 people in 3 months. Were you thinking about what would happen if traffic came back? How you were going to get those 700 back? And the question I would ask, and I'm going to ask every railroad, now that we've been through this, have you figured out that going from 11,000 to 8,000 may not have been a good business operating plan? And I don't talk about PSR. I know the labor folks do and other folks do, and it has good aspects and bad aspects. I don't hear an operating plan require you to have too few people on the payroll to run whatever plan you have. So what I'd like to know is, has NS and have the others figured out, you know what, this idea of dropping 25 or 30% of our workforce, not a good idea.
All right, guys, as you can see in the video, this is a real serious situation because the railroads, let me hit pause, are really understaffed, like to the point where they're at the bare minimum and the bare bones. Now, people say, well, why don't you just hire more people? So here's the issue with that, right? It takes 6 months to get a conductor in the seat. And after that 6 months, it still takes 5 years for that conductor to fully understand what he's doing on the railroad. So there is a huge time gap in experience they need in order for this railroad to be 100% efficient and knowing what he does and to be productive out there in the field. So as you heard, with the gentleman talking there, he's pretty much said what operating plan allows you to cut pretty much 30% of your workforce. So that proves, and I'm going to tell you like this: the management and the executives don't know what's going on or the industry that they're in. The railroad is a productive base industry. It is not a time base unless they are in position to make it a time base, which they were not. So precision schedule railroading was 100% going to fail from the get-go. And I'm going to tell you why. In precision schedule railroading, they need you to go from one location, let's say for instance New York City, to another location, let's say for instance Chicago. And what they're doing is they're giving you a 3 mile long train. In between, you have pickups and set-offs. Basically, you have to get rid of some cars in the yard and pick up some cars from another yard. In between that section or that territory, as well as pushing 16,000 tons across the country. 16,000 tons. You know how heavy that is? My car probably weighs maybe a ton, or if not, maybe like 800 pounds. My car. Imagine pushing my car up a hill. I weigh 200 pounds. We're talking about 16,000 tons across country. And they're saying it has to be there in a certain time. The railroad is not designed to do that. I'm sorry to say, it is not designed to do that. It is a productive base industry, meaning that if you come in, The amount of production that gets done in less amount of time is good for the railroad. Not an employee being on duty for 12 hours is going to be more productive than an employee being on duty for 4 getting all the work done. So, with that being said, here is everything you need to know. How can the railroads get out of this situation today? Now, as you can see, they cut most of their workforce. So they cut it down to the bare minimum. And pretty much the railroad is a seniority-based industry. So when they cut their people down to the bare minimum, that means you have individuals with more seniority that been there for 20 plus years. I want to say maybe 15 to 20 plus years. The issue that falls into play is a lot of those guys are getting ready to retire. You have that issue. Then you need to replenish your ranks. Like I said, a conductor, it takes 5 years for them to fully understand what they're doing to get them from the street and in the seat. It takes 5 years. They put them into like a college course where they have to pass. Once they pass, then you have OJT. And then from that point on, it's 5 years of experience for them to be productive. Then with that being said, once those 5 years pass and they get the certain amount of conductors, now the issue falls into play. The guys who had only 15 years have 20. The guys who had 20 now has 5 more years before they can retire. This is a huge issue. So some of the things the railroad needs to do to help with manpower issues, number one, after the guys come in and get their work done for the day, they have to send them home right away. They have to. So you have some jobs where you can come in, spot an industry, and once you get done, 4 hours later, you get to go home. So in 4 hours, they used to do this. The railroad used to do this. Once you got done with your work and everything you needed done, they sent you home. They cut that out and they said, oh, now the crews have to stay for 8 hours. That in itself hindered the railroad immediately. It immediately hindered the railroad because now a job that took 4 hours to do now takes 8. You doubled the time and now there's more congestion in the terminals. Number two, what the railroads need to do, they need to put on the utility man. The utility man, if you look at the CFR, the Federal Code of Regulations, and you look under the section railroads, the utility man is the only man that can help other crews out. So let's say, for instance, so they took that job out of most terminals completely. They took that job out of most terminals complete. That was the most important job to expedite the move of an inbound train or outbound train. That job was extremely important. They took that job completely off. Now, here is the utility man in a nutshell, right? He is kind of like the extension. And the reason why crews can't help each other is because you had so many serious injuries and accidents that you need the U-man on to alleviate that. So the conductor, when they took that job off, they pretty much said the conductor has to get off, ride the shove all the way back, maybe a mile and a little ways back, get down, walk back up to the head end of the train, tie brakes, do a securement check, basically securing that the brakes hold so the cars won't roll anywhere. After they're done with the securement check, walking back takes about 25, maybe 30 minutes by itself. Putting on brakes, that's 3 brakes, 3 minutes, securement check, that's 10 minutes in itself. That's 40 minutes wasted that could have been saved if you had a utility man. Second, they have to cut away and put the rest of their train in the track, so the conductor has to ride back in the track almost less than a mile now, still walk up, tie brakes, and do another securement check. When it's all said and done, it takes about an hour and a half. If you had a utility man, it would only take 30 minutes. You save an hour on the railroad with a utility man. A whole hour. And that job was completely erased in most terminals. Not saying all. In most railroads, that job was completely eliminated. So that's one of the things. They need to put the utility man back on. And also, going back to letting the guys go home for 4 hours. So, say for instance, you have a guy, he's on the extra board, and he works only 4 hours. That guy is again available in 10 hours because a conductor, once he gets off, he needs 10 hours of rest. That guy is available the next 10 hours to go ahead and help out with another job if they need him. So your manpower is consistently rolling. So that's another thing the railroads need to do immediately. And as you can see, they really don't have an operating plan. I was watching this hearing the other day, and these guys have no idea where to go from here. They couldn't even give you an operation employee to operation ratio. They couldn't even give you a number. This is $1 billion industry, $1 billion company. Each one of these companies are $1 billion, and nobody could give you a operation to ratio, employee to operation ratio. They couldn't even give you a number. That shows how much the employees are dependent on in this industry. That shows right there that the employees run this industry. Not management, not executives, employees. If the employees don't move the trains, trains don't move. So where we go from here? Well, there's only a couple of things that the railroads can do. They have to make the quality of life better. They have to. They have to increase the pay for the employees to make it a more competitive job. And here's the thing. They said they have record profits. They're in the $1 billion, right? Billions. They're in the billions with record profits. And to put things in perspective, $1 million takes about 30 days, right, to accumulate. Let's just say, for instance, trying to put things in perspective, $1 million, that's probably like 30 days to accumulate. $1 billion is 38 years to accumulate. I know I'm saying that kind of wrong, but that gives you an example. So you can get $1 million in 30 days, but you can get $1 billion in 38 if you accumulate money in a certain way. Let's talk about compound interest in that kind of way. But where do we go from here as far as railroads? Again, quality of life. You have to make the railroad more of a good environment, more of a good job for employees. They have no choice at this moment. In a couple of years, we're gonna be in a recession and depression if the railroads don't get their act together. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this is kind of like an act of terrorism. From what I've been hearing, there was a hedge fund from Canada who came in and dismantled this company to the bone, which pretty much is crippling our economy at the moment. This is an act of terrorism. A Canadian company, a Canadian hedge fund, from what I've been hearing, coming in and tearing this company apart. One of the major companies in the United States, one of the major arteries in the United States. This is terrorism. I'm sorry to say, I have to say it for what it is. And somebody really has to step in and do something, because if our workforce doesn't improve, it's not looking good. It's not looking good for the American people. It's not looking good for me. It's not looking good for anybody. So the railroads have to definitely take some extensive measures. They have to pay the guys. They have to make the quality of life better. They have to give them reasonable schedules to perform their duties and tasks. And they have to invest in their employees like they never invested in their employees ever, because the way the economy is moving right now, it's not looking good. It's not. So that's my take on it. As you heard, this is a serious situation. I don't know if it's getting enough attention, but you be the judge. You be the judge, okay? And I'm just here. I'm just going to give you the information straight. This company, I tell you the truth, I'll quit. If I had another job, and actually tell you the truth, I'm gonna tell you a true story. I had to go and get an Uber, and the guy in Uber, he literally went from my house to the airport and that cost me $60. He got $60. I gave him a $10 tip, but let's just say $50. If you can make $50 doing Uber, the railroad is not that appealing, unless you're bringing in maybe $600 or $7,500 a week, or every 2 weeks, should I say? So, again, if I had the opportunity, I'd definitely leave. Especially if they don't pay. It's a $1 billion company. They don't even pay. I ain't gonna say it. I mean, retirement plans is important. Incentives is important. Benefits is important, and retirement is important. And the retirement is ridiculous as well. I mean, it's just a terrible industry. I can't believe I did it. I should have went to school. Should have went back to school. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I appreciate you guys watching, and I'm gonna let you take a slice of this pie and tell me what you think down below. But hopefully we can get out of this situation soon.